to episode 4 of Moon Diary Moments. This is our little documentation of our kind of progress and journey of being independent musicians here in Colorado, northern Colorado. So we are...
our experiences as we're going to different places. So
today we're talking about a threefer. We had, April 6th, I believe, it was a Thursday, we had a gig in Colorado Springs,
yes.
Colorado. It was a little place called Rico's Cafe.
Yes.
Cool little spot, actually.
We talked about it before on here. It's the place that's got a little bookstore, coffee shop.
Yeah, so we returned there for, I think that was our second time.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's always a good feeling. I feel like when, especially when you're booking your own gigs, sometimes it's like people are kind of taking a chance on you. It feels like, and when people ask for you back, it's always like a good, little
good
confidence
job. You
booster.
passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a nice to return there. It was still kind of a good, similar turnout. I feel like it was relatively, relatively busy for that kind of that size.
Yeah, and it was, as the night went down, a lot of people were kind of weeded out, but those are when like the most intimate of moments happen at that place, because there's just a handful of people and you're kind of like making eye contact with everyone that's right there, and the tables are close, so it was a relatively good turnout. And then, as the
we kept people all the way to the end. I remember for both times, the first time we were there too, but for the second time as well, I remember we kept some people all the way till closing. And it was kind of funny because the first time we went to this place, we kept somebody all the way till closing, but the staff was slowly like putting chairs on the tables and stuff like that as we were playing that
did not happen this time.
So that was kind of interesting, but that didn't happen this time. It was very everyone was kind of respectful of time, I guess.
Just a side note, if there's any venue owners listening to this or watching, don't have live music all the way up until the minute that you close. You should probably give like an hour of time.
Space in between,
the music stops and your employees are trying to get out of there, close up the shop.
Yeah, and it gives time to talk with the customers as well.
Right, like actually, make a connection, make a merch sale, anything like that, just exchange some words, because people do want to talk afterwards, and we want to talk afterwards. That's a big part of going out there in the world and playing music.
At this one, actually, where we kept this guy all the way, he was actually a comedian down in Colorado Springs, and it was nice to kind of connect with him on an artist level from a different side of the trade or whatever, different trade of the industry.
Yeah, because we always feel like comedians have it so much more difficult, it's
mad respect to comedians to be
really
able to handle a crowd like that,
Yeah, but like as a musician, you can kind of think, I'm creeping in on them subconsciously. My music is starting to slowly creep up on them.
As long as you keep it in the pocket and,
Yeah, and it's okay. And you can tell yourself you're doing great, even though you don't really know how you're going. But as a comedian, you immediately know how you're doing, gauge the room and the temperature and all of that. Totally. So,
it was nice to connect with him. He was very appreciative of our music.
Yeah.
And that was probably our paid-in moments, moment for that particular venue. So we were down in Colorado Springs for a Thursday night show, and then we also had a Friday night show in the same town, or actually in Manitou Springs, which is just like a stone's throw away.
Minutes away.
So we played that Rico show. We ended that, and then we went and played Manitou Winery the next night. And actually, so there's a funny story, kind of funny story. So we slept, we stayed overnight in Colorado Springs, obviously. After that show at Rico's, we went and pulled into a space somewhere to kind of sleep for the night. And
we used an app that our friend showed us called iOverlander. And it
for
led
anyone
us to
traveling
this
independent,
parking lot that we could safely sleep at, and that experience was great. So just a shout out to that app.
Totally. So when we're, it's probably 11 p.m. or maybe even midnight.
Well, it must have been
11:30 or something like that.
Yeah, just before midnight.
I'm pulling into a parking spot right next to a median, so it's like at the end of a line of parking spots, and it's right next to a median or a meridian or whatever you call it, filled with like rocks,
like a curb
and
in a parking lot.
and like a light and things like that. So I'm pulling up next to this little median area, and then I feel my tire kind of nudge the curb. And so I'm like, I kind of misjudged it, so I'm going to put it in reverse and reverse it out and kind of fix my alignment and put it back into the spot, right? Like any of us would do, normal situation. So I put it in reverse, and unbeknownst to me, there's this iron water pipe jutting out of the ground above the rocks.
Like something that the city would install to access like the water or the pipes or sewer, like something like that. Something like,
So it was sticking up prominent. Just enough to catch the lip of my undercovering or whatever it's called. The plastic thing that's covering my undercarriage of my van, and it catches the lip of that and peels that off and takes my whole bumper with it.
In like one swift motion. We were going like 0.5 miles an hour, slowly backing out of a parking spot to fix it. And it was nighttime, like you were saying, so in the headlights, you could see the shadow of like something clearly just came off, and there was a noise and all of that.
So I get out of the van, right, and assess the situation. I'm standing out there, my bumper's on the parking lot ground at 11:30 in this parking lot, And
we're just pulling into this parking spot because we needed to stop at this place and go to the bathroom one last time before we were going to sleep for the night, to sleep in our car. So this was just supposed to be like a quick in and out little kind of experience. And now we're like, we can't even go in yet. Now we have to deal with...
Have to go to the bathroom still.
Yeah, we still have to go, but our bumper's on the ground.
So I'm like standing out, looking at my bumper on the ground, probably looking pretty distraught. And this guy, this stranger comes up behind me and is like, hey, saw that whole thing, heard that whole thing. That sounds like it sucks. Looks like it sucks, As I was walking back to my car, God told me that I had these clips, these little car clips, and that I had to give them to you. So, and I was like, okay. And so we me and this guy proceed to get on the ground of this parking lot and clip my bumper back together, one clip at a time. He probably put in like 10 or 12 clips. I probably put in like 2. But we, hardly said anything, kind of just got down there, clipped the bumper back together, got back up and shook hands, and I thanked him.
Said thank you like 3 or 4 times.
I asked him if I could give him anything, and he just said no, travel safe, and that was it. He kind of faded into the night. And still, our bumper is actually still clipped together right now.
Yeah, this is like a few weeks later from that incident. And
so
thank you, because it still is held together this long.
It was quite the ordeal. Yeah, I mean, it was honestly quite magical. Having now been like you said, a couple weeks later, having reflected on it, it's kind of. I said, at one of our other shows most recently that it kind of taught me that you have to get to your last thread sometimes before the angels show up, and. That's kind of what I feel like we experienced that night in between Rico's, and so the next night after that was Manitou Winery, and
so we eventually got our bumper clipped up, went inside this establishment, used the restroom, went back to our car,
and then went to sleep for the night.
Had a nice safe sleep, woke up, had a really nice magical hike that we went on with some new friends, and so. That was a nice experience leading into Manitou Winery that night. That was that would be Thursday night? No, Friday night.
Friday night, yeah.
Yeah, it was April 7th.
It was a magical little time. And yeah, Manitou Winery is a small little hole in the wall, wine tasting room. Kind of great for couples and serenades and things like that. And it was
Manitou Springs is like super touristy mountain town. Nestled right there into like Pikes Peak.
We know some people down there, have actually some kind of good friendly connections down there, and so we saw some people who came out and to support us. And
fun fact, we used to both work at a coffee shop there.
Yeah, it's always nice to return to a place. I think, like I was saying for the previous one, it's nice to return to a place and feel warmly received and welcomed. It's always great. It was a small little turnout, but it was a good, heartwarming turnout.
Yeah. And so after all of that we had been through, just with the first gig and then the bumper situation and the second gig, we were ready to head home.
Yeah, it felt like we were definitely being kind of tested on that trip with those 2 gigs right in a row down in Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs.
And you actually had a headache. You got a headache on Thursday morning or something like that, and it ended up lasting for 7 days. So he had this horrible pinched nerve / migraine situation going on, and that was all happening with the bumper and these 2 shows and the next show even. So that added a little bit more.
A lot of pressure.
Stress.
Yeah, it felt like a test for sure, and it felt like maybe a prelude, preceding to a closing of a chapter or something like that. It felt just very, I don't know, kind of those types of obstacles that kind of make you feel like you're about to go somewhere, or you're about to head off, or a chapter's about to close, or something like that.
You're just being guided in certain directions, maybe.
Which is, kind of leads into so we had another show the night after that.
So this would have been our 3rd night in a row, April 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily that was back in Fort Collins, though, where we're currently residing. So
drove back with our bumpers still clipped together on the highway.
And this was at our lovely No Waste Cafe here in our neighborhood.
One of our favorite spots here in town.
The Fox Den.
Fox Den, yep.
So they were celebrating their 1-year anniversary, which is
congratulations
really cool.
to them. So we were really excited for them. Patricia, the owner, really sweet individual.
Passionate, caring, super genuine person. And so through this big party with other musicians and artists and stuff like that.
Was gracious enough to invite us.
It was a good time.
So we played, I think, second to last on the bill. One of another great musician here in town played after us to close out the night, Anthony Harris. Who actually, I don't know when this is releasing, but he just released an album, I think. So you should look him up.
We're recording this right now.
So look him up, Anthony Harris. That was a really fun time, and it was again a spot that it was here in town, but it was we had made connections with these places. Actually, they had an open mic on Thursdays, and we had gone there a couple times.
During the winter when things were really low key for us.
Kind of got our foot in the door when they had just kind of started opening and doing their open mic thing, and that's how we met Patricia and all of the people there, and and so we were fortunate enough to be on their list of people that they thought would be good for this show, and we loved it, and we thought it was great, and there was a great turnout for it was a very kind of intimate space, so it was easy to fill it out.
This place is always nice to play at because it's just so cozy. It's a rather small space too, but it's very cozy, just rugs and linens everywhere and nice soft lighting and mood lighting, and it just feels like you're in your friend's living room.
There's a beautiful little outside spacing underneath a tree, a really old spruce tree, I think maybe.
I think it was a blue spruce tree.
Beautiful spot with a mural on the wall, and the inside has a bunch of local art, local crafts, local all kinds of things like that, and they have art walks. No Waste as well. Classes. On Friday. It's just a really cool place. You guys should check it out. The Fox Den here in Fort Collins, Colorado. It was a great show though, and yeah, we felt like it was a very full weekend. It was obviously a very busy weekend. We booked all these shows kind of in a row: Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. With the two being in Colorado Springs, which is kind of southern Colorado. It's just about 3-hour drive-ish, 2.5, 3 hours depending on traffic, from where we live in Fort Collins to down there. So yeah, it was a very full experience.
It was a lot.
We got paid for almost all of the gigs, so that was a fun. That makes it a little bit, like for paying for gas and things like that. It takes a little bit of stress off of it when you are being compensated for that. Yeah.
Either break even or make a profit out of the situation. Because when you're starting off, we imagined,
any breadcrumb helps you kind of go along. Sorry.
No, it's okay. We imagined that we'd be doing this for 5 or 10 years before we were able to count on a specific amount of income from music. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We try really hard to not let money come in the way of performing at something, especially if we're passionate about it,
right.
care about it, like it at all,
or be a value or a identification value marker of how you feel successful you are in what you're doing, or in the dream that you're chasing, or in the art that you're creating, especially it doesn't necessarily ever equate to that terminology. I mean, it might equate to the amount of work that you're putting in, and amount of things like that, but it kind of balances out over time, and it feels like you have to sow those seeds and kind of work at it without anything happening for a very long time before the tree starts to grow and bear fruit. And it's
so
often
what's the proverb about planting a tree that your grandkid will sit underneath, that you'll never have the shade of, or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a Greek proverb that's society grows great when men plant trees that they know that they'll never enjoy the shade of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of with any amount of success that you're trying to identify with, which is a slippery slope in general, For us, we call it getting paid in moments, because obviously, there are these things that happen to you along this journey that are just magical, I mean,
that make you realize that that's what you're living for. You're not living for money. Money might help you find a means to an end, a way to support yourself and survive, but money is not a way that we achieve or experience magic or miracles or the divine,
Well, money is not moments, right? So it's it's tough to, when you experience that with another human being, it's way different.
Yeah. So, I mean, all of the moments that we experienced over these 3 days, whether they felt like they were rough or really, an elated feeling that we were having, it was a full experience, and we feel like we definitely got paid in moments, paid in lessons, and it was all part of the journey.
Friendship, connection, and things like that.
Yeah. So overall, it was good. It was a good trip.
Yeah. We survived. We got scraped up a little bit. Our van did, Valerie, van. But we survived, and we definitely grew. I feel like it definitely taught us to be patient and present. Something that we've been not struggling with, but learning over this year.
Vowed to address those things, grow in those areas this year, in our patience and our presence. So these things definitely brought us closer to those virtues, and it's all a part of the journey, right? And it taught us,
it's a beautiful journey.
We might not be invincible, but we're also not brittle,
not made of glass.
Totally. So things are gonna happen, but we can just keep going.
So that's it for this episode 4. Thank you for tuning in. Check us out on our other videos on YouTube, and check us out live in person. We're going to be playing here around Fort Collins and Boulder and Colorado, Windsor, and things like that over the coming months. And then we're going to California in June. So we got a lot to talk about coming up here on Moon Diary Moments. Thanks again. We'll see you.
Bye, guys.
looking out.